studio update. It is Saturday the 21st, I think, of May. I think it's 21st. So usually every week I do a studio update video and I do a Titan update video, but this week it's been a little slow on the studio side because I've been busy. We're putting in a bid on a house, so because of that we've been running around and signing papers and that sort of stuff. So I haven't had a lot of time to work this week in the studio. I will show you the few things I have been working on. So we'll do we'll start with the small stuff and work up to the big stuff. So my longest client, who's building this army of Cali, requested a new unit, and he wants a Naga unit. Nagas obviously are the sort of snake creatures with the heads of females, and they're hideous to behold. So this is what we came up with. This is a core choice, and he's going to be using them as plague bears, or counts as. So these are Slaanesh Demonette heads on these fiendish snakes from the D&D line. They're mounted on 25s. Now traditionally demon cores are on 20 millimeters. We had to go a little bit bigger. And actually these guys really spilled off the base, so I could not stack the units up side by side. I tried a couple different approaches to make these guys work. Ultimately what I decided on, I had them elevated, and that was sort of bad. So ultimately what I did was I shaved down the sides with a Dremel. Now when you look at the unit from the top, it's going to be absolutely fine because you can't see the sides there. And I think when they paint, they're just going to paint that smooth, make it look maybe like they're up on a rock, or maybe like it's an extension of their tail. There was some flock on there, it'll be okay. For the musician, I gave one of them a rattlesnake tail, and that's from a Trigon that I bent up with a heat gun. For the champion, I put it on a sort of a, what do you call it, a cobra looking body. This is a flame snake body, and there she is. And then for the banner, because they don't have any hands, I made it look like it was sort of wrapped around a bit of the coil of the body. And then the banner pole is an old Slaanesh, what do you call it, banner, and then I just added some skulls to it and added some hair to it. I took off the Slaanesh icon because obviously it's not a Slaanesh army. So there that is. That's one more core unit for his army. So we're moving right along. I think at this point he has a viable list. It's not competitive, but certainly it's viable. This is my answer to a poor man's Necron Lord. So with the Royal Court for the Necrons, you can field bunches of Lords, which I think is really neat. The problem is that the basic Lord runs you, $15 from GW. So to build a bunch of Lords, you're going to need a cheaper option. So this is basically a Necron Warrior. What I've added to him is I've given him a Hyperphase Sword because I have plenty of these left over from conversions. Not because it's a good option or better option. It's an okay option, but because it's cheap. And this guy is basically a sergeant for a unit. I gave him a Tachyon, or I'm sorry, not a Tachyon, a Tesseract, which is sort of a one-trick pony in combat, but it's very cool. I actually really like it, so take a look at the rule. And I gave him a simple option for something to hold. I gave him this extended sort of back piece here from the Lichguard kit. And then for a cloak, because a lot of the Lords wear cloaks, this is actually a piece of, I guess, robe from a Stargate miniature that I used for some conversions a few years ago, so I had a bunch of these left over. I thought the icon on it looked like a Necron icon or iconography. And the head is just from a targeter from the Catacomb Command Barge, so I gave him that sort of as a different head. So that way he'll stand out, he'll pop against a unit of Necrons. And I'm going to plan to build a few more of those. So for now, that's all I have right there. My small Necron force that I'm just kind of building for fun is growing very slowly. I'm really taking a lot of time with it. I'm not rushing it. Okay, so that was the normal stuff. So here's the Titan. This is what we're probably all interested in seeing. So this is where we are right now. Didn't do a lot on the fortress this week. I don't remember if the update video I had added the flocking yet. So basically, obviously there was some gaps in the tiling. So what I did was I went back in and I threw in this grit and gravel. And this is designed to make it look like this thing has literally been fighting in a long battle. So that helps to cover up some of the gaps in places like this. Obviously back in the back where there's some gapping, that covered that up. And once it's painted, I think it'll blend just fine. Remember, this is all going to have sort of a metallic sheen. I also went in and added in all of these little things. And man, is that a pain in the ass. That must have taken me an hour because there's so many of them. Like every one of these bits of ruins has a couple of these. So to people that have never assembled a Pegasus kit before, yeah, you know, it's easy, but it's time consuming. So I added a couple statues in to cover up some glue scarring and just give a little more embellishment to the castle. Now it's not entirely balanced because this should actually be on this side, but the glue scarring was over here. So I used that sort of as a means to an end. I went ahead and added all the plating to the sides of this thing, so that's all in place. Now remember, some of these damaged areas like this, we're going to go in and paint with a blackened color to make it look like it's battle damage. Added a little more plating here, some plating here. So now we're covering up all of those plastic art areas that were uneven. We added a couple plates in there, but I'm not entirely for sure about that. I may go in and fill something in that gap there. It just depends on what works. So this is all done up here. Now this isn't entirely balanced because this actually was not centered. Because of that, I had more space on the right than the left. And that's just sort of one of those things you have to live and learn. It would have been better if I had centered that. But because I didn't, I had some more room for piping. So basically, I just added several bits of piping in here to work with the Mechanicus symbol. I think once it's painted, it's going to be a small point. You know, it's fine. I added some statues in here to sort of close in these gaps. And again, the white will be painted metallic, so that'll all be fine. Haven't done anything on the sides yet. On the underside, I don't know if you saw this or not, but I added these vents. I'm going to do those on the other side too, and those have to be filled in there. On the back, did a lot of work last week. These two plates were added in. I caulked them on the side with some liquid nail, and that needs to be filled a little bit. The bottom here is a little rough, so what I'm going to do is gray stuff this today. I'm going to add in some robe to make it look like this is more ornate. This got glued in, as you can see there. I added in these, some light for some OSL, some plating underneath there. Got to add some more plates today. And then on the feet, what we did was added a few hoses here on the knees. The big thing I did was I wanted to support this, so I added in foam. Now, at first glance, this looks a little crazy because it's all this yellow foam under here. There's a couple reasons for doing this. One is I needed to fill some gaps. As you can see here, I had to sort of plug some gaps in. So what I did was I used this expanding foam to fill this in. It's much sturdier now. It doesn't rock as much, so I like that. And what I've done is I've added in, I had this old, it's not even old, I had a spare wave serpent from a fire prism kit that I had used the fire prism for some conversions, the top turret for some night side. So I had the bottom left over. And rather than buy another top turret, it was actually cheaper just for me to kill the whole thing. It actually would have cost me more to buy the top turret. I don't even have an Eldar army. So basically what I did was I made it look like this thing had either been stepped on or had ran into this thing. The foam I'm going to paint like fire to make it look like this is an inferno. Like this thing got stepped on and there was an explosion, and so now it's exploding underneath his feet. I scattered some bits of this thing all about. I still have the crystal pieces here and the gun pieces. Now I did the same thing over here. One of the problems I ran into was that the foam pushed its way out through here. It's a little hard to see, but it's a mess over here. So what I've been doing is every day I've come in here and I've sprayed a little black spray paint. The aerosol nature of the paint eats the foam, so it's been diluting this a little bit. There's still quite a sprinkling left over. So what I think I'm going to do is paint it like blood, so it'll look like it's a bloody, gory mess. I'm going to throw a couple bodies in there. I assembled a couple guards in them. So what I think I'll do is I'll paint these guys separately and I'll throw them in here, something like that, to make it look like they've been slaughtered, and then the blood will be there. So it'll become a narrative sort of display, and that's my solution to that. This is nice and sturdy now. It's full of foam. It's nice and strong. It's not going anywhere, and this gap is filled. I got to smooth that over. So it's sort of a happy medium, but it obviously needs a little touch-up. It's a small thing. To cover up these, those clasps that are holding this leg down by tethers, I used these skull pieces that are spares cut from the underside of these Dark Angel motifs from the Fortress of Redemption. And I have to go back in here and fill these gaps too. So those will have to be filled this will have to be filled in with something, probably some more skulls if I can find some. In fact, I do have some skulls that'll work there. So anyway, so that's where we are right now. A lot of gray stuffing that's going to have to go on today, and a lot more plating is going to have to go on today. So that's where we are. My goal is to get this thing done in the next couple weeks if I can. I really want to have this thing done. We're going to have a big Apocalypse game in June, so we're going to be able to see this thing in action, and I'll send you some video of that. We do a big Apocalypse game every year, and so this will be the first year I'll get to use this thing in it. And then afterwards, it's probably going to go up for sale, so we'll see how that goes. I guess the only other thing I can show you right now is that we assembled, because this is supposed to be a Space Wolf Titan, we have some little things like this laying around the workshop, and our plan is to sort of strew these from various parts of the model, like this cannon. I think I'm going to strew it from the gun to give it some decoration. And we've talked about, or I've talked about in the past, doing things like hanging some big rune stones off of it, which I've got over here. Those will be hanging off of it probably with some chain. And we've also got some other base decorations in the form of terrain pieces and some big shell casings from a rifle that we'll probably throw down on the ground. So lots of little details which I think really make the model. So yeah, look for that soon. We'll be working on that in the next couple days. So until then, until our next update, this is Caleb at White Metal Games. We are a custom conversion business for hire. We do custom converting, miniatures, painting, that sort of thing. We don't obviously show a lot of our painting. We do paint. We just don't paint as much as we convert. We end up building a lot more than we paint. That being said, we are planning some painting projects in the near future. Once the Titan is done, we plan to have sort of a painting fiasco. And so in that regard, we've sort of gotten everything ready and primed and ready to go. We've got a bunch of NIDs for our next wave of painting. We have a Demon Prince we're going to paint up. We're going to paint up this Stone Golem, a couple Catan, one custom Catan, and this Gargoyle, which is counting as a Dire Bat. So yeah, we got plenty going on. So look for that in the next coming weeks. And until next time, put your minis where your mouth is. Happy wargaming, and we'll catch you later. Bye-bye.